Aloha, everyone.
Aloha,
I'm Rev Rita,
Rev Patrick here from CSL Kaua'i.
otherwise known as Center for Spiritual Living Kauai.
That's right. We just take it for granted that everyone just knows CSL Kaua'i. Well, we do. We are located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and we just celebrated our 7th birthday. And that means that 7 years ago, this wonderful co-spiritual director and myself came over here to start a Science of Mind center. And we did, and we're continuing to grow even with our current situation. We're still growing. But why don't you tell them a little bit about Science of Mind, just in case there's
Oh, in
somebody
case you
here for
don't
the
know what
first
it
time.
is,
Yeah.
it's really a trans-denominational philosophy put together by Ernest Holmes, based in all the different philosophies and traditions and cultures and religions of centuries and centuries that he synthesized together to come up with two things, which are love and law. That we are spirit, that we are love, and that we use the law of our being, otherwise known as the law of attraction. You can notice that, or the law of cause and effect, however you want to look at that, but that we all live in this beautiful field of intelligence, which we call the field these days, right? And that's spirit, that's God, that's light, that's divine energy, and that we use this law of our being, and how we think into it, how we think into that field of energy that we're a part of, is how our life shows up for us. It's like I always use the example of the ripple. We throw the rock in the pond and it ripples out and it comes back. Yeah.
It's
So,
that easy.
right. So this little get together that we're having is called Get Real with the Revs. It's actually our 4th episode. And we have been inspired to talk about something tonight or today. And it's called, so we're calling this episode Between a Rock and a Hard Place.
Have you ever been there, between a rock and a hard place?
Yeah, we were inspired because last night we watched this intense film called 127 Hours. It's based on the book Between a Rock and a Hard Place. And if you're not
James
familiar,
Franco is the actor that played the role.
and if you're not familiar with it, I'll just briefly tell you that it was it was a true story about a man named Aaron Ralston, who was a very extreme hiker. He took all kinds of chances hiking. And anyway, he finds himself caught he falls down into a crevice and finds himself caught between a boulder lands on his arm, and he can't. And he's down there for 127 hours.
800 pounds.
And finally in order to get out, has to amputate his own arm. So it's a tough movie to watch, but really worth it. And the reason we're bringing it up is because of the metaphor of the whole thing, because I'm sure all of us can identify with that feeling of being between a rock and a hard place, which means that you have two situations, neither of them which is acceptable. In his case, it was, I'm going to die here, or I'm going to actually lose my arm. And so just metaphorically speaking, I think for ourselves, Patrick, have you felt like you've been between a rock and a hard place at times in your life?
No, yeah, many times. I mean, even growing up, we've all found ourselves in having to, it's called decision making.
Right.
And a lot of times we find ourselves in that, rock and a hard place, especially when we don't want to have to make a decision, because that's the only way out of the boulder. The metaphor for me is this boulder comes onto our lives. COVID is a good example of the boulder in our lives right now. And we can either just stay here and just hope the boulder goes away, or hope my whole arm doesn't go away in his case, or hope that everything just comes out, or we can make decisions day to day based on the rock and the hard place. And sometimes both of them don't seem very good, but we still have to make our decision out of it.
I'll use an example for us. We sit here and our center was building up to 100 people on a Sunday, which is really wonderful for a center for spiritual living, that we would have that many people interested and wanting to come, and it was building, it was expanding, and then we were hit with COVID. And now it's like we've gone back to the beginning, but we had to make a choice. We were between a rock and a hard place, because it was like, are we not going to get together until we can get together the way we used to be, or are we going to let our center die and do that, or are we going to, are we going to have to do this compromise and have to social distance and have to wear masks and all of that. That was our rock and a hard place. And we were very stubborn at first. We were like, no, we're not going to go back
Because we had been doing live
right,
stream, just to give you a little, so we were still operating. We just were operating without any of our community here. It was all,
right.
everything's live stream, as it still is on many now.
Right. So we finally had to make that decision, but we could have sat in vacillation and our center probably would have died. But now we are growing again. We're definitely growing again. Our online presence is growing. We know when we're back in the room, we're going to have more people who probably have to move out of this building that we're in. So where in your life are you between a rock and a hard place? And as Patrick said, it all does come down to making a decision. And it's probably, for most of us, and if we're in that position, it's probably one of the most difficult positions that we ever have to, difficult decisions that we have to make, just like Aaron Ralston. I mean, that was a horrible decision he had to make, but it was that or die. And the other thing was, Patrick, it was his vision. He had a vision. Yeah, go ahead, why don't you?
No, I just said that he did have a vision. We're not going to tell you the whole thing, but he had this thing, this ultimate focus, that why did you want to get out of there? Why did you have to rip your arm off if you have to get out of there? And that's what we're doing too. And people do what is the reason for CSL Kaua'i to have to go on? Because of this incredible place that has been created. But it's not going to just, get out of that rock in a hard place just simply because, oh, that would be a nice thing to do. What is that driving force? I call it that divine urge, that thing that pushes, that says, I will not take no for an answer. CSL Kaua'i will grow, and no matter what is going on right now, the funds will come, the things will happen, just like he did. He had a vision of he would not take no for an answer. He had to get out of there and get back to that world that was out of those caves, and that thing had to leave, and he had to be free. But we could easily give into it, right? Like, it's 800 pounds. Have we ever felt like that? Oh, it's too big for me. This is too big. I felt it the last day even. This is too big. This is too big. How am I going to how you're going to get out of it is by getting incredibly driven and excited about what's on the other side of that decision,
right,
and what is going to occur for you to do that. And the only way to do it is to get your frequency. That's for me, to get my frequency up to that one level that will move a mountain and
we'll
a boulder.
Move your boulders out of the way.
Boulders, it has
Whatever
to.
those boulders are, they could be boulders, it could be fear of going forward with a project you want to go forward, fear of that maybe you won't be successful. They could be lack. You feel like I'm never going to have another job. I'm never going to, I might as well blah, 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 whatever your blah, 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 blah is. So it's making a decision and having a strong enough vision for the future that catapults you out of that rock in a hard place into creating, because that's what we're here to do, is to create.
I mean, it goes for relationships as well. What's boulder is there that you have to get through? There's a lot of stress, a lot of depression, a lot of things going on right now that can just seem like 800 pounds of a boulder of emotions. And sometimes, you just want to do what? Tip over the refrigerator and have another bite to eat and move on. But there's more than that. There's a divine urge that signals that we can count on, that we can say, listen, I don't want to do this all on my own. I don't want to do this all on my own. Come forth within me, as me, and move me through this mountain.
If I got anything out of that movie, it was the resilience of the human spirit. When the human spirit says, I'm going to have this, I'm going to do this, and that spirit pours through that vision and that love, and that's what took him out of there, was a vision of love. When that moves through us, you can move any boulder. I mean, it's the one that our Master Jesus talked about, the faith, the grain of a mustard seed. You say to the mountain, move, and it moves here. So that's the kind of passion we're being asked to have right now, and to move the boulders in our life, to move and become the greatest us. Our whole month is about inspiration this month at CSL Kaua'i, and we got to get inspired to be the best us. So
Or
yeah.
the great, just to end on a few, or that great master Rocky Balboa, who had the what? The eye of the tiger, and
Right.
said what? Because he was in that restructuring,
Mm-hmm.
rebuilding himself from this great Rocky to this guy who just all gave up. It's all over. So he had to have the eye of the tiger. So we're like the spiritual Rocky Balboas of CSL Kaua'i. So I know that you know that too. And
So do you want to do the treatment, or should I?
would you like to do it?
Yeah, we're going to do a
She
treatment.
loves doing this.
I love doing treatments.
Yeah.
Our spiritual mind treatment is just an an affirmation of truth, an affirmation of the truth of every situation, which is that behind everything is that divine force moving through us. So let's just make this treatment about resilience.
Yeah.
No matter what we're experiencing, that we have this quality
Moving the
of
boulder.
resilience, and that we are moving the boulders in our life. So what I know right here and right now, as we take a deep breath together, and recognize that that breath that's breathing through us, as us, is that power and presence of spirit, that power and presence of this divine light, this divine energy that moves through everything, that is this infinite intelligence, this thing which keeps the planets in balance and spinning, and keeps the stars in the sky, and keeps the oceans moving, and keeps us all standing here on this beautiful, amazing thing called planet Earth. That is the power that we are dealing with. The power that opens a rosebud is the same power that resides within each of every one of us, within me, Patrick, and everyone listening here, and beyond and beyond and beyond. So what I know about that is that that power is resilient. That power can move boulders. And I know that anything in our lives right now that needs knowing, anything that needs to be revealed, any boulder that needs to be removed as we move into our greatest expression of ourselves, is removed right here and right now with the power of this word that I'm speaking. And it is removed with ease, with grace, with love. And I know that our dreams are being fulfilled right here and right now as I speak. And that we have clarity and peace of mind and a knowing and the support that we need and the financial abundance, whatever it is, the boulders are removed right here and right now. And we are growing strong and expanding, and a perfect, amazing presence in this world as we move and live and breathe as each individual and collectively. So I'm grateful to know this. I'm grateful to see the demonstration right here and right now as I move this word into law, and I allow it to be expressed there perfectly, uniquely for each and every person listening here in just the right way, as I affirm, and if you choose to affirm with me. And so it is.
So it is. So there you go. We got the eye of the tiger. We're ready to go. We're ready to restructure, rebuild, and move that boulder. And the reason you can do that is because you are magnificent.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha. Have a good
Yeah.
one. See you next time.
You will.
You can't turn it off. Hi.